So if you had to describe your life journey as if it were a wine, how would you describe it?
I would describe my life journey as a red blend. Because I literally there's no one direction. I think we were talking about this the other day about there's no final goal point, but you know what you have to offer. Right. And that's just been the trajectory of my life. I have so many things that my hands are on and that I'm starting. And it's literally just a blend to where I am now and where I could be going from there.
Right.
Essentially. So it's just a lot of ingredients that make me who I am and where I'm going.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So like talk about that. Like being from Philly, shout out to Philly. Okay. Like how did you kind of just get started in your foundation and, figuring out your life?
I've always been in the arts in some way, some capacity. I was fortunate enough to have a grandfather who really cultivated that. I call him like a Renaissance man. He was into painting, into carpentry. He knew how to sew music. He knew music by ear, piano by ear. And my side, like I explored more of the tactile art. So like painting and designing, and my sister explored music. I know music things, but I wanted to focus on art. Normally when people graduate from high school, they want to leave their hometown to go to college. But I stayed in high school and in college in Philly. But I just always knew that what I wanted wasn't in Philly. I was heavily embedded in the creative scene in Philly, but it felt like a glass ceiling there.
Right. You talked about like a glass ceiling, like, being within the city. Like, is that was that opportunities?
I think there's a lot of things. Like you being from Philly, I think you understand that Philly's a very impoverished city. And that's why we have like such a high crime rate. Like everybody's just in survival mode. Yeah. So for me, I think that's when I realized that it's a mindset in Philly where a lot of people only see that where they can go is where they can go based off of what they're seeing. And that was a glass ceiling essentially that people in their mindsets were creating. Like when you talk to people about what their goal was, it wasn't, not to sound like I'm superior, but like a goal would be something that's just like very like, oh, you can dream bigger than that. Right. But a lot of people didn't know to do that because of what they didn't see in Philadelphia. And then you have the creative scene in Philly, which was just very tight, close knit, but just only segregated to certain things and just that. Yeah. And then people had the mindset of, oh, I have to get out of Philly to succeed. And it's like, then you can't cultivate succeeding in Philly. So no one knows what it looks like to really succeed in Philly because everybody has the mindset of, oh, I got to leave Philly to succeed. So that's where that ceiling came because it was like no one ever really created something to go beyond that. Yeah. My nonprofit, specifically what we do is we give scholarships to Black students studying to enter the industry, whether it's design, whether it's marketing, merchandising, all of that. We've also, we're going into our 4th year now, and now we've also placed students with internships in New York last summer and this summer. So it's a lot that's been happening. We're branching off into our European chapter where we'll be giving a scholarship to 5 Black students in Europe. For me, I've always wanted to create a scholarship foundation, and I thought I needed to be like a director and making boohoo money to do that, to use my own money. But I was painting a lot in Switzerland during that time, and I started selling my paintings. And from there, I made enough money to give a scholarship to like 1 student. But then I started talking about it more, like this nonprofit that I wanted to create. And I guess I underestimated the power of my network. And from there, I got my first corporate sponsor, which was Target, and another brand called Lilith NYC. And that turned our 1 student into 15 students in the first year of establishing it. We were featured, well, I keep saying we, but that's how I've been learning to talk. I'm manifesting my foundation. But, my nonprofit, we were featured in Business Insider within the first 3 months of establishing it too. So for me, I'm like, wow, this was the time to do it. I've been sitting on this idea for so long and didn't know how to do it.
How do you even get to that point? Because you've done so much, like you say, like giving scholarships, with empowerment, being maybe like the only Black person in the space, like how have you found your voice?
Just a lot of my upbringing. Like my mom raised me to be a very confident person. Yeah. And not like egotistical, conceited or anything like that, but it's very confident. So I think in that aspect, for me, I'm very confident in the rooms that I enter. And I also know how to carry myself authentically, whether it's professional, personal, whatever. I just show up as who I am, and I don't hide that. And I think because of that, I'm very vocal. So because I don't hide who I am, I'm able to keep that same vocalness that I already have.
Yeah. So how do you find that space to, 1, protect yourself, and then 2, to continue to support Black women?
So for me, I feel like I support Black women daily in my relationships through my, my family, obviously, the Black women in my family, then my friendships. Fortunately, I've been in a space where in Portland, co-founded Black Girl Brunch Club, where it's blew up. It's grown to something really crazy, where we're hosting 300 women a month, and every month it's a different round of women. And the moment we feel like we don't have the bandwidth for this, there's women that's like, hey, I met my tribe here. When's the next one? So that's how I show up for Black women, just making sure that they feel seen. That's the most important thing for me, because Portland specifically, when I first moved here, I saw the dynamic between Black women and Black men, and it wasn't a real dynamic. I didn't feel like Black men was looking out for us, just in general to look out for us, and then I didn't feel like Black men were pursuing us in a romantic space.
Yeah.
So that me being very vocal, I'm like, what the hell is happening here?
Right, exactly.
I was like, let me get here and figure out what I can do. So, I help create that space, and that's all I can do is help people feel seen, so that even if they are not being seen by other people, at least they know what that feeling is like to feel seen.
Yeah. All right, we good to go.
Good.
I appreciate it.